Hi, Barbara.
Hi, Mary. How are you?
I am doing well. Thank you so much for meeting with me today.
Sure, sure. Thanks for having me.
So I'll go ahead and introduce. This is Barbara Bustard. We are Life in the Faust Lane podcast. Happy to have you here. So,
Thank you.
so just quickly, we'll go ahead and dive into my questions here. I'm so excited to talk about your book and promote that. I've been reading it, so
Yay.
as much of it as I can read throughout the week I've been doing, and I just love it so much. So I'm really excited to start talking about it.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, so well, go ahead and let us know the title of the book and when did it come out? How long has it been available?
Okay, the title is The Art of Healing 12 Step-by-Step Meditative Art Exercises for Improved Physical, Mental, and Spiritual Well-Being. And I just published it in August.
Wow. How
hmm
long was the whole process of making the book for you?
Well, actually, this book, start to finish, I should say, I started a book like 15 years ago. And at the time, I was a potter. That was my art focus. And it was going to be entirely about clay and the spirituality of clay.
Oh,
And it got waylaid with life. And so when the first thing was that I was given an opportunity to be in a compilation book, a book with 25 holistic healers, each writing a chapter
no.
with Laura DeFranco. And when I was asked to do that, and it was at the beginning of COVID, it was March when we were all locked down, nobody can go anywhere. I said, oh, that sounds great. And this is a perfect time for me to write a book.
Oh, yes.
So that's what I did after that chapter was submitted and that was published. Um, I just started writing, but I changed my focus because I don't really have a ceramic studio anymore. And so I don't really get to do clay, which is my love. But I've switched it to exercises that I have taught, I had an art school for a couple years and I taught preschool through adults. And
Wow.
um, so I thought I'm going to, incorporate all these exercises that don't involve all the technical details of
Yeah.
perspective and
Uh,
all that. So I just started doing it and I got it finished. I think it took me about 2 months.
wow. That's so cool that you could take
Mm-hmm.
something like COVID
Mm-hmm.
and you used it to finish something that's kind of been in the works for a long time. And it seems like it just naturally happened. And it's a time that we all need that book. So
Yes, that was also my thought.
um, I love that. So for me, when I first was reading, the words art and meditation, it
hmm
it dawned on me, why in my world does it seem like those two words especially can cause some anxiety for people? Because I know for me growing up, I come from a very artistic family, but I always felt like I was kind of the jack of all trades type. I didn't have like a specific art that I was so good at. And like my husband's a brilliant musician, and so
mm
it's clear what his art craft is. And I never felt like it was clear for me. And so that makes me anxious, like art, and then meditating, things like that I think can give people anxiety because they just feel like it's such a foreign thing that they've never done.
mhm.
There's no way they could be good at it. So just curious what your thoughts on that are.
Well, you're absolutely right. You say meditate and art and people's anxiety go up goes up really, really high. And the first thing I hear with art is, well, I'm not creative. I can't draw. I can't make a straight line with a ruler. And that isn't necessarily art. That isn't all there is to art, is being able to draw. And that isn't all there is to being creative.
Yeah.
I mean, we are all creative. We have to be creative. We were created, so we have to have creativity in us, right? And that was another focus of the book, is to relieve people's anxiety. And my goal is to get people to embrace their creativity, just because of all the health benefits it offers. And there's so much you can do that is art, that I think the problem is, first, a lot of times when people have been younger or whatever in school, maybe the art teacher said, no, that's not right. And, and they got a bad grade, or somebody said something about whatever they did, and it just like broke their desire to be creative. It put in their head, I'm not good at this, so I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
But like I said, that isn't necessarily all there is to art. Just being creative is the thing. And it can be just taking paint and a brush and just smearing colors on a paper, and that would be beneficial. For one thing, the colors help emotionally and trigger things. And looking at art actually has almost as much benefit as creating it in your brain. So I'm always just trying to get people to say there are no rules.
No rules. I love that.
There aren't any rules. You don't make a mistake. If you're trying to do something and you think you made a mistake, no, you're just going to change it. You're just going to make it differently.
Yes. And like, also, I want to point out, it took me, a while in life, till recently in my 30s, to recognize that yoga is an art. I'm a yoga teacher. That's an art. Of course, that's an art. And also, to go a little bit deeper, if we all really think about it, our life is an art. If we're just expressing
Absolutely.
ourselves, and so we're all artists, whether we like it or not.
Right.
Whether
Everybody is. I mean, cooking is an art form.
Yes.
Almost everybody cooks. Well, you're creative. If you can make a meal,
that
you created something.
Enjoy, yeah.
Especially if it's edible. Photography is art. Writing is art. If you journal, that's an art form. That's a literary art. It's expressing yourself.
Somebody else is reading it. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
You're all artists, okay?
Everybody is creative, and you need to tap into that every day, because it's so beneficial to your brain.
Totally.
And the meditation fear is the same thing. I'm not good at it. Well, just like everything else, you have to practice.
Yeah.
Nobody's good the first time they meditate. You can't just immediately go, boom, and I'm all zen and I'm getting all, it doesn't happen.
Yeah, or like, I did 10 sit-ups today, but I don't have a six-pack yet, so I'm not good at it, so I'm just going to stop doing sit-ups. Like, you just got to keep doing it and keep asking questions. If you really feel like, I'm not doing this right, just ask questions. And that's where I think community is so important. Just find little communities around the things that you're interested in, and people will support you.
Yes, they will. And with anything that you do, the more you do it, the better you get at it.
That's right. Well, I love that. Now, on to my next question here. I love. I was reading in the beginning of the book where you talk about the seasons of our life relating to the seasons of the year. So I just, years ago, I heard someone say seasons as far as like our emotions and our life. And that meant so much to me to think of life that way. And the more I've kind of had that in my mind, it's become so clear that's exactly, life is like that. It is like winter, spring, summer, or fall, with our emotions, not necessarily lined up with
No.
real seasons,
Right.
but so if you don't mind just talking about that a little bit, I love that. I think that could help some people maybe who feel just lost and frantic right now, to just hold on.
Right.
It's gonna
Right.
be, you'll come back down eventually, and summer will come
Mhm.
back,
Right. That's the whole thing. We go through so many things in life. I mean, so many changes and loss, and we're happy or we're sick or we're depressed. New jobs, divorce, marriage, babies. Well, each thing can have a part there can be a fall season where it's a season of like loss in the fall in the year. The leaves start to drop and die and the trees turn brown, and it's a transition time. And so you could be losing a job, you could be losing a loved one who's ill for a long time. That's a fall season because it takes a while. And then after the fall, you would go into winter, where it's a time of healing, a time of rest, a time for reflection, and it's a time to go in and find out what spring is going to be after this event.
Yes.
And and you think of spring and what it's going to be, and you plan for it. And then in the spring, when you start to say, okay, I know what it is now, what's next, what do I need to do to get to summer where it blooms? So in the spring seasons, that's when you're planting the seeds of whatever you need
Yeah.
to go forward, whether it's, doing everything you need to do because you're going to open a new business, or maybe you're preparing for a baby, or you're preparing to get married. They're all new seasons.
Yeah.
And then summer comes, and it's always nice when you're in a summer. A
Yeah.
summer season in your life, because that's the time where it's pretty easy going, and you're like blossoming in whatever it is you do, and you can rest and just enjoy like summer, like
Yeah.
relaxing summertime. But you can also have more than one season at a time.
I was just going to ask you that. I
Yes.
was literally just going to
And of course,
say,
right, absolutely, because you could be dealing with something that's a fall season, like if a parent is sick and you know that the end result is that they are going to die or whatever. That's a fall for you emotionally, but at the same time, you may be thriving
in your career
in
or,
your career, or in, just happy with your life.
yeah.
So, and the thing is that they say this too will pass. That doesn't just mean bad things or sad things.
Yes. All
The
of it.
Everything will pass. You are going to not stay in summer forever.
Oh, nope.
When
That's
you
not
get
just
there,
you.
things are going to right. Things will change, and you may have to change, your whole life will be different again. I mean, I've had several whole lives, you
Yeah.
know.
And
So,
doesn't it just feel naturally that that's why we have actual seasons to remind us of that? I wish it was summertime here in Seattle all year long, but that's
mm,
not realistic, right? And if I expect that it's going to be summer all year long, I'm going to be very disappointed 9 months out of the year. So same with, I'm so happy, this day is so great, my life is so wonderful. I have to hold, I have to be grateful for that and hold
mhm,
it very lightly, because if I'm not riding these waves of life, I think this is what's leading to so many health problems, mental
mhm,
problems, so on and so forth. So that's why I just loved that. I think the seasons, if people can just be kind of in more of that state of feeling, um, with life. And yeah, and I think it's so funny that you brought up that you can be in multiple seasons at once, because can't that sometimes start to make you feel like I'm gonna lose it. I'm
Mm.
gonna lose it. Like there's just too much going on. But if we're aware that that's what's going on, I think just the awareness keeps us from losing it, if you will.
Well, that's exactly where the mindfulness and the meditation comes in.
Yes.
And practicing that, there are actual physical changes to your brain.
Yeah.
So when they've done studies, and when people have meditated regularly, the part of your brain that controls the fight or flight response, the anxiety to anything that's perceived as danger, whether it's real or not, which is what a lot of anxiety is. It's just like
Yeah.
that part of your brain shrinks,
Yes. Yes.
physically shrinks.
Yes. I
And
don't
the other
know that.
and the other parts of your brain, it you get there's 4 other parts that actually grow. I have the sections written down, but I don't know. But anyway, and those are the parts that deal with compassion and empathy. They get larger.
Yes.
Um, Emotions, controlling emotions, memory,
Ooh. Could all use a little
and
of that.
they've actually found that there was a study where they looked at 40 to 50-year-olds who regularly meditated, and compared, they had the as much gray matter as 20-year-olds.
Wow. I love that.
Yes, so you physically are improving your brain.
Yes. The most
And
important muscle in our body.
right, right. And it also, the brain and the heart are connected, and to get in sync, so it also adjusts your heart rate when you meditate, and then your brain says, oh, okay, I'm in sync with that. I'm not going to bother you right now with all this nagging stuff.
Yep. Now, my next question was going to talk about the neural pathways. That's what we're
Hmm.
talking about right now, because
Yeah, well, that's that. Yeah, that's the effect of meditation, and the neural pathways. I mean, the brain is made up of billions of neurons, and each one of them can make like thousands of connections.
yep.
And creativity actually um, creates more neural pathways. And of course, the more neural pathways you have, which is what connects the different parts of your brain and communicates,
Hmm.
then the better your brain communicates.
Yes, it's like it really truly is like a workout, if you will, for your brain.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just it's helping the right muscles of your brain
Right.
strengthen so that you can get out there and live your best life and not react so quickly to things and have these odd
Mm-hmm.
behaviors that even confuse yourself. And um, in my own personal life, I started taking meditation serious, I would say maybe about 8 years ago. I'd always kind of dabbled in it here and there before that, but I started taking it very serious then, and my whole life has transformed. That sounds dramatic. It's not like
No,
I went to bed and I woke up and my life was different.
yeah, look at me, right?
Yeah, wow. Slowly but surely, I noticed myself improving, my relationships improving, my moods improving, my ability to trust my own intuition and
Mm-hmm.
make decisions that seemed bold and scary that I know my family and culture would say, don't do that. But I would make a
Mm-hmm.
decision and realize that was the right decision, or I would make a decision and be able to forgive myself if it wasn't the
Right. I mean,
right.
yeah, we're not always going to be perfect. We don't always
No,
listen exactly, or maybe we get the message wrong because we twist it, like still we control it a little, like, no, this is probably what that meant, right?
exactly, because our egos are always trying to hold on for dear life, I feel like, and that's fine too. But I think meditating has really brought me to a place of just really having this an overall sense of it's all right, even when it
Hmm.
looks like it's not, and it even feels like it's not. There is this like deeper sense that like it's a season.
Right. And it's a moment. You have, just if you're present in the moment,
Yeah.
that's all that is happening right now. So if everything is fine
Yeah.
right now in this moment, and then the next moment, still fine.
Still,
Good, still fine. It's,
Barbara, you and I are here chatting about my favorite topics in life. I'm doing all right now.
yeah, great, great. Me too.
So perfect. Oh my gosh. Well, I love that. Yeah. So the neural pathways, when I naturally just wanted to start meditating, but when I was actually learning about what it was really doing to my brain itself and started to really experience those little shifts, I was all in after that. I don't see how anybody else could not be all in. Like, can't can't we all feel that sitting just still, or just walking and counting our steps, something very simple and basic, I think we can all feel intuitively that's important to be adding
Hmm.
into our day, week, even if you're, starting off just
Right,
once a week or something, like just some sense of sit down, check in, let your mind calm. Like, I think we can all agree that
right,
good for us.
right. Yes, definitely. And just focus, check in with your body. Do a body check from your feet to your head and
Yes.
just see how everything's feeling.
So I know you said you're mostly into making pottery, working with clay,
I was for years, I was a ceramic artist, but
but
now I don't have that studio anymore.
okay, but you're just an artist now. What would you say, or have you always felt that like art and your spiritual life were connected, or was there kind of a turning point in your life where you recognized that there is no difference, it's all the same, but really started to like bring those two worlds together, if you will? And forgive me if spiritual is not the word to use, but in my mind, when you're mixing like anything in the meditation world and
Hmm.
mindfulness, I kind of just file that into spirituality, but forgive me.
Yes, I do too.
Okay.
That's the perfect word. My whole thing is connecting art and spirituality. So you hit it on the head.
That's the sense I was getting from reading your book. So yeah, if
Yeah.
you wouldn't mind talking on that for a minute.
Well, I've always loved art. Um, always liked to draw, and I would write. I had a little composition book, and I wrote poetry, and um, I loved photography mostly when I hit well, in my day it was junior high. Now it's middle school. There was a science teacher there who was a big into photography, and he would, go around and take pictures of all the kids. And I was one of his favorites that he took pictures of. Nowadays, they'd probably accuse him of stuff, which he didn't. He was just a photographer.
Yeah.
But now he'd probably not be allowed to do that, right? Because he would go in the gym and take pictures of people on the, equipment and um, yeah, so he was very, very nice. And he actually helped me set up a dark room in the basement bathroom when I was at junior high. So I did some photography and developing, and I still love photography and do that a lot. And then there, when I was probably in elementary school, in a summer camp, and I just don't I can't, I just have this vision of this teacher's office, and it had a cubby with a potter's wheel in it. So it must have been an art teacher or the art office or something. And I got to see that and found out what it did. And I was hooked, and I had never even tried it. I just was like, I have got to learn how to do that. I want to do that. And it wasn't until, gosh, my 30s, when my youngest was in preschool, and I had never finished my associate's degree. So I decided, well, he's in preschool, so I have a couple hours. I think I'll go back and just at least get my associate's degree. And when I was looking through the catalog, I mean, all I needed were electives, and ceramics was listed. And I'm reading it. I'm thinking, first, I'm like, ceramics? they pay, they give you credit to paint those little molded things because that's what my idea, the term ceramics meant. I always thought of the other as pottery.
Okay.
And so I'm reading and I'm going, oh no, this is the wheel and sculpture. And so I took every course I could. And then I went on to another place and took more. And I've always been spiritual. My childhood was a little traumatic. And I would always be talking to God or spirit, whoever, something. I knew there was something there, and I would talk and, ask questions. And the clay, when I started working with clay, it really became a more spiritual. There's just something about working the clay,
Wow.
and it would feel like I would always say, okay, just, I know I'd get this vision of what I wanted to make, whether it was a sculpture or whatever, but I would always say, just work through my hands.
Yes. Oh, I
And
love that.
it would feel like that because I'm like making it. And then when I'm done, I'm like, I don't know how I did that. That's like, I didn't think I'd be able to do that. Or how did this stay together when I was like doing a big sculpture, even though I planted it out, it would be like a palpable feeling. Like, this was like coming through me. It was, you know.
Oh,
So
I got the
from
goosebumps.
that was, I was processing a lot of, I really didn't start figuring out who I was till I probably began in my 30s. And by the time I was 40, I realized that I was gay. And I didn't know that all that time, but it explained a whole lot when that light bulb went off. It's like, now this makes sense.
I think
And
culturally it wasn't so, open maybe too. Like it had to
oh
reach.
no, it was no, because I'm 65.
Oh, so you're right. You're right. You're right. But correct me if I'm wrong here too. I feel like even though it was like the gay and lesbian movement started pretty early on, I think overall as a culture maybe it's a little bit more accepting
Oh,
these.
I think definitely. I mean, it was not at all. I mean, I didn't even really probably understand what it was.
Yeah, it's
I
not like.
know that, I mean, even in high school, one of my very close friends, we were sitting in drama class in the auditorium, and she says one day, she says, I have to tell you something. I said, okay. And she said, I'm a lesbian. I'm like, okay, thespian, lesbian. I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
not
didn't
really,
phase me. It was like,
yeah.
you know, but I didn't still realize it until I was like 40 years old. But
Wow.
my upbringing was very strict and not a lot of communication, and nothing like that was ever talked about.
Yeah.
And so it didn't even enter my radar. My whole focus, because of the way my mother, I was adopted, so the way she was I'm like, this isn't how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I loved kids, babies, and I was like, I was going to have 12 kids. And I was going to be a great mother. That was it. That was all that was on my radar. And so what do? You get married, you have kids, right?
Yes.
So anyway, then I finally started really figuring out, and the art and yoga and meditation were a very big part of me going through that process. That's how I processed everything, and that's where I would get the insight, because when you're meditating, you're contacting your higher self. I mean, we have all this knowledge
Yes.
in us.
Yep.
Everything we need, we
All
just
the
have to
answers.
be willing to access it and trust it.
And trust ourselves. And
Right.
when we come up against fear, don't be so afraid of it. Just
Mhm.
look at it, talk to it.
Mhm.
What is it you're afraid of? And hopefully move through it and push past it. And I love that. I love that story. And I think who cares that it took you, that long to figure out that you were gay? All right.
No, it was perfect timing. I
Yeah.
mean, I have 2 beautiful sons, and
Oh,
um, I
yay.
was married for 27 years to their father,
So you
and
experienced that.
and it was, I still love him. There was no issue about that. He was a great guy,
Yeah.
but it would just realize that that's why this always felt odd,
Yeah.
you
Yep.
know, um, and it's a, we're here on a, like, we're spiritual beings, and this is just a human journey.
Yeah.
We are learning through this whole journey, and it's never going to end.
Yeah.
We're going to keep learning if we choose to.
Yeah.
We're going to keep learning more and more about our spiritual selves and the potential that we have, who we could potentially become.
And it will
And it was,
hurt at times, and we don't have to be afraid of that.
yeah, I mean, it hurts, and it can be sad. I mean, of course, it kills me that I could have hurt. Well, I'm sure I did. Hurt my husband when I said, "Guess what? you
Yeah.
know, this isn't working." um,
But you
but
didn't mean to
and
hurt.
I feel bad about that, because my vision was to find somebody and be with them 50, 60 years. I mean, that was my vision and what I expected, what I thought, and all of that has been turned around several times.
Yeah.
But I always say, I noticed myself saying, "Gosh, I feel more like myself than I ever have."
Yep, I love that so much, and I think that's so important. And I don't think we like reach a point of it's a continuous process. I think just the older and older we get, and that's
Mhm,
the cool part. We're just unfolding into who we are, and it's
mhm,
endless, and I just love that. Well, I'm so happy that I also wanted to point out that in the opener of your book, you make a little shout out to your wife, and that just warmed my heart so much, because the support that you mentioned that she gives you, it's so important. And it made me want to just
mhm.
encourage any listeners to find support in your life like that says
Mhm.
go for it, whatever you want to go for. Like, my husband's like that too, and boy, just having that support, doesn't that just help so much in going
It
after
does.
the things we want to in life? So I
It
love
does. Thank you.
that. So let us know, let the listeners know, and myself, please. How can we get a copy of your book? Remind us of the name. Tell us where we can get it, or where you can be reached if people just wanted to shoot you an email or something if they have
Right.
questions or anything.
So the book is The Art of Healing, 12 step-by-step meditative art exercises for improved physical, mental, and spiritual well-being, which is a lot to type in on Amazon. So, and because there are a few other books that begin with The Art of Healing, so the easiest way to find it on Amazon is to put The Art of Healing Barbara Bustard,
There you go.
and it should take
Bustard
you
is
right to
Bustard.
Stard, like mustard. You can order it on Amazon. You can order autographed copies directly from me just email me at artforbodymindsandsoul@gmail.com, or you can contact me through the website, which is artforbodymindsandsoul.com.
Wonderful.
And I'm on Facebook. There's a Facebook author page and an Art for the Soul page. So you
Great.
can, I'm sure you'll find me somewhere.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have Barbara tagged in all of my posts, so you can also reach out to me if you need any information as well. Well, gosh, this was such a lovely chat, Barbara. I'm really excited. I'm so grateful I'm reading your book, because like I said, I know I'm an artist in my
Mm-hmm.
own way, so your book is encouraging
Everyone is.
me to want to just express myself, and I want everyone to express themselves. That's when life becomes beautiful, is when we're all just expressing ourselves and taking good care of ourselves. So get a copy of Barbara's book, please, for the health
Thank
of our
you.
planet.
Yes. And for your health.
Yes. And Barbara, thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much, Mary. I enjoyed being here.
You take care. Have a good rest of the day.
Namaste.
Namaste.